know the term mandate has fallen into disuse? I mean, it used to mean running on a platform, positive, proactive, declaring, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, and if elected, this is what I'm going to do, in order to build up support for it so that if you get elected, you've got a mandate. You've got a free hand to implement the agenda on which you ran. But anymore, our politics is become so polarized and so tribalistic, and now it's infected both parties with extremism and personality cults, and both parties are arms of the left now. And so there's no longer any idea-based reason to vote for a candidate. It's all about, well, we got to stop the other candidate. I mean, that certainly gripped the Trumplican ranks, the Donald Trump personality cult, along with the Hillary scarecrow crowd, the Hillary phobes, who now belatedly are trying to convince and trying to bulldoze those of us in Never Trump, particularly, to bow the knee to Trump because we gotta stop Hillary! There's only one problem with that. That's not a reason to vote for Donald Trump. And you'll notice that Trump supporters don't even bother trying to offer a reason to vote for Donald Trump. Just doesn't happen. And given that the other side is the Democrats are amazingly at its lower volume, saying pretty much the same thing. We got to stop Donald Trump. But that's not a reason to vote for Hillary either. So when you have two major party candidates who are both manifestly unpopular and hated and despised and distrusted, the two least electable national major party presidential candidates of the modern era, at least, maybe ever, it's not surprising that their only argument is we got to stop the other person, the other candidate. And so, regardless of who wins, what do we end up with from such an election? We end up with the winner, which will be Hillary Clinton, getting elected without any kind of mandate to do anything, which is another reason why I just think we gotta stop Hillary it's just embarrassing. Because, number one, what could Hillary Clinton do? Because, I mean, the Republicans are still going to control the House at the very least, God willing. So she's not going to be able to do anything. And really, most of what you'd think that Hillary would want to do has already been done by Barack Obama. I mean, what's Hillary going to do? More of it? Yeah, well, I mean, what else could she do? Oh, the Supreme Court! Yeah, the Supreme Court was already lost. It really was. And if it wasn't already lost, it was lost the moment that Trump became presumptive GOP nominee, because Trump is not going to nominate conservatives to the court either. And even true conservative Republican presidents nominating Supreme Court justices, it's a crapshoot. I mean, Ronald Reagan nominated 3 of them: Sandra Day O'Connor, Antonin Scalia, Anthony Kennedy, and he was 1 for 3 for all intents and purposes. And maybe if you want to give half a point to Kennedy and Sandra Day O'Connor, then it would have been 2 for 3. And of course, if Robert Bork hadn't had his character assassinated by the Democrats, it might have been 2.5 out of 3. George H.W. Bush, he went 1 for 2. He hit a home run with Clarence Thomas, but got skunked by David Souter. George H.W. Bush, who we thought went 2 for 2 with John Roberts and Samuel Alito, but turned out not so much with Roberts. So this notion that, oh, the Supreme Court, how do you know that, like I keep saying about Trump, how do you know what Trump would offer up for a Supreme Court nomination? You don't. He would put, well, actually, we do have a pretty good idea. He put up his partial birth abortion zealot sister, Marianne Trump Berry, from the on the Circuit Court of Appeals. That's who he'd be likely to put up. So, regardless of who wins, and it's going to be Hillary Clinton, she's not going to have any mandate. I mean, more Americans, as Michael Tanner writes at nationalreview.com today, are voting against the other candidate than voting for their own because they have no reason to vote for their own. Now, here's a test. Make a case for your preferred presidential candidate without mentioning his or her opponent. Whoever wins in November, aka Hillary Clinton, will likely be the most unpopular presidential candidate ever elected. The Real Clear Politics average of poll shows that 53.5% of voters disapprove of Hillary Clinton. And many of those polls were taken during her post-convention bouts. That means that the best she can hope for is that somewhat over half the electorate doesn't like her. That's the best she can hope for. But she actually looks good compared to Donald Trump. Just 1/3 of voters approve of Trump. Nearly 63% disapprove. And that's why Mrs. Clinton is going to win, because as unpopular as she is, as distrusted and unliked as she is, Trump is even worse. Again, it's like that old joke about the two natives who were trying to outrun a killer leopard. And one of them stops and puts on a pair of running shoes. And the other one says, "What are you doing that for? That's not going to make you faster than the leopard." And the guy with the shoes, the native with the shoes, says, "I don't have to outrun the leopard. I just have to outrun you." And that's what Mrs. Clinton is doing. She doesn't have to be popular, period. She just has to be more popular than Trump. And that is the lowest possible bar to clear, ladies and gentlemen. Now, even voters who have settled on a candidate are less than enthusiastic about their choice. Less than half of both Trump and Hillary's voters say that they strongly support their candidate. Overall, 57% of voters say they are dissatisfied with both candidates, including 31% who are very dissatisfied. I would be in that category. Only 13% report that they are very satisfied with their choice. Now, since barring a Gary Johnson upset or intervention by the sweet meteor of death, which is what I'm pulling for, one of them will have to win, and it will be Hillary Clinton. Millions of Americans will be voting for someone they don't think should be president. In fact, half of all those voting for Mrs. Clinton and 55% of those voting for Trump say that they are actually voting against the other candidate rather than for their choice. That is not a mandate. Of course, even if Trump or Hillary were far more popular than they are, it's hard to see what either of them would have a mandate to do. Both candidates have changed positions with almost metronomic regularity. About all we really know about Donald Trump's program is that he wants to build a wall, which he doesn't. He's reneged on that this week. Loves guns and loves gun control. Doesn't love Muslims, but he's perfectly willing to negotiate with them, because he'll negotiate with anybody. And for all of Hillary's 257-page position papers, does anyone really know what she is for besides a vague idea of higher taxes and bigger government? And what's, like I said earlier, what's left to do there after 8 years of Barack Obama? It's more serving as a caretaker, wouldn't you say? I mean, perhaps that's why 59% of voters say they are more focused on the candidates' personalities than on their positions. And I was saying 4 years ago, ideas no. Remember how Rush Limbaugh used to say, ideas matter? No, they don't. Not anymore. Ideas don't matter anymore. They didn't 4 years ago. They sure as hell don't now. I mean, the array of talent that the GOP had lined up, I mean, it was a breathtaking pool of talent, and all of them were tossed aside in favor of a Cheeto-faced New York liberal con man entertainer. Ideas were jettisoned in favor of anger, as though anger is an idea. In addition, neither candidate is likely to wind up with a Congress anxious to enact his or her agenda, whatever it would happen to be. At this point, it seems likely that the Democrats will take back control of the Senate, thanks to Trump's manifest unpopularity. But if they do, it will be far more attributable to Trump's unpopularity than to any sort of Clinton coattails or pantsuit tails. Bridal train? No, that doesn't work either. Whatever. Tail? Whatever. I'm not going to take it any further. That's enough. And almost no observer suggests that the Democrats will win enough seats to eliminate the Republicans' ability to mount a Senate filibuster. And if Mrs. Clinton were to win in a landslide, the GOP margin in the House would surely be reduced, but Paul Ryan, not Nancy Pelosi, will still be Speaker next year, God willing. And if Trump somehow manages to eke out a win and take the Oval Office, which he won't, he would almost certainly enjoy Republican control of both the House and the Senate. It is hard to imagine very many ticket splitters choosing Trump at a Democrat Congress, but at the same time, Trump has done his best to alienate congressional Republicans. He still is. He still is. He's in the general campaign. He wants to give Hillary Clinton the benefit of the doubt on the Clinton Foundation, just as an example. He's still attacking Republicans. What does that tell you? What ought that tell you, Trump supporters? Don't you think it's odd that Trump is continuing to attack Republicans a month into the general campaign against his Democrat opponent? Trump's entire campaign rationale is antipathy for the GOP establishment, which he is now not only a part of, but is heading up. Now, burning it down sounds like a good idea. Which metaphorically speaking, which presumably includes the Republicans whose backing he will need to pass his agenda, whatever the hell that is, on any given day. I mean, the likely result of all this is that very little, and pay attention to this, Hillary phobes, Hillary scarecrow crowd, Doug, pay very close attention to this. The likely result of all of this is that very little is going to get done over the next 4 years. All you Hillary scarecrow people who were saying, "Oh my God, Hillary! She's like Alinsky and Lenin and Stalin and Hitler and Pol Pot all rolled into one. Ah! Shut up. Shut the bleep up and stop insulting our intelligence. Like, we don't know who and what Hillary Clinton is, and apparently you people have forgotten to some extent because she's not that bad. Maybe once at one time, but now she's a senile, old, corrupt hag who just was going to say whatever she has to say in order to get back in the White House. And all the things you could trundle out as, well, we're going to get socialized medicine. Well, we already got that. Oh, well, we're going to cap and trade. Well, we already got that. Oh, we're going to get net neutrality. Well, we already got that. What else is there for her to do? I mean, this is the gold watch for putting up with Bill for all those years. And all his philandering and horsing around and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's all it is. Nothing is going to get done over the next 4 years.
What's this? A letter for me.
That means the Democrats' worst ideas are not going to become law, or at least they really already have. It's just not going to get any worse. Gridlock can be our friend, but this country does face serious problems. Our national debt is $19.4 trillion and still growing. The economy remains sluggish, mired in an economic depression. The balance between security and civil liberties in the face of continuing terrorist threats remains elusive, and so on and so on and so on. But all of that would require thinking and ideas. And Republicans don't do ideas anymore. Up to and including the erstwhile Mr. Constitution. Unfortunately, unless something changes between now and November, the next mandate Hillary Clinton will have is to not be Donald Trump. And she might actually have a difficult time doing that because they're two sides of the same coin.